The regular meeting for Monday, December 12th of the Rockridge School Board. Item 2 is approval. I want to pull 6.2 Orthopedic Associates. They're going to make that after they get some current and more up-to-date pricing. And in the place of that, I will put Willie Speltz in fundraising without objection. Can I get an approval of the agenda? We have a motion by Director Addy, second by Director, was that you?
Yeah.
Are we going to say the Pledge of Allegiance or nothing?
Any, what?
Are we going
The
to
Pledge of Allegiance or nothing?
do roll call and,
No, I'm following this right here. I'm sorry, yeah.
oh, we need roll call and pledge of allegiance.
Oh,
I understand you had a long drive.
yeah, I had a long drive. Roll call.
We're going to do the pledge first.
First.
We'll do the pledge first. Thank you. I'm glad you're here with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now roll call. Just walk in.
Director Yuhan.
Yeah, here.
Randy.
Here.
Director Addy.
Here.
Nicole.
Here.
Director Sorkin. She's here.
She's
Director Stacy.
present.
Matt called me and said that he is out sick, so he will not be here. And Tom had to leave, so. We have 7 board members present. There's a binder over there on the table, has all the materials that are handed out for tonight's meeting. If the public would like to follow along with us, they can go to rrps.org, district information, school board, and board book. I'm going to do that. We're going to keep your Bill and Nicole's motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Where is
So number 3,
Spencer's here.
Spencer? You're up.
number 3.
Yep. Number 3, presentation of truth and taxation information's business manager, Spencer Ani.
There will be a PowerPoint on the. Thank you. So tonight, I'm going to go over the truth and taxation meeting. And here it comes. So the first things on the agenda today is the property tax levy timeline, the current year budget, which was adopted back in June, and it's just a quick overview by fund, and then the proposed property tax levy for 2023, the school district 2023-2024 school year. And then if you have any questions or comments afterwards. So the timeline is in September, the school board adopted the proposed levy. November, the county auditor mails out the notices. Tonight is the truth and taxation meeting, and then the school board will be asked to certify the final paid 2023 levy. During the calendar year of 2023, the county collects the taxes, and then the school can use those funds in the 2023-24 school. Just to get an idea of the dollars we're talking about for the levy, this current school year's levy, so the one you passed a year ago, is just over $4.2 million out of a over $51 million overall revenue budget. So it's about 8.2% of the total revenue the district gets is through this levy. Here is our current school year's revenue budget. There's that just over $51 million. You can see majority of it is in our general fund. We have a large debt service, as you know, with all our projects going on right now. So those are the two largest for our revenues. And of course, those are the two largest in our expenditures. We have basically a balanced budget this year, but as you know, a lot of that was due to federal COVID dollars helping us out filling that gap. So that's part of what's helping. So the current levy, like I just said a bit ago, 4.2 million is what we are right now with our levy. The proposed levy for tonight is just over 4 million. So a decrease of 126,000 or a 3% decrease is the proposed levy tonight. Here's just a slide showing some districts in our area that are closest to us in size as far as student count. Hermantown, Hibbing, Cloquet, and Grand Rapids. You can see us in the middle. We are the second lowest in our region in like-sized school districts. And then this is looking at the next 4 districts closest in size for student numbers statewide to see how we compare statewide in our local levies. Many factors that go into this, and we'll talk about those on the slides to come forward. But we are the lowest in statewide when we're comparing the next closest districts. This section of levy is where we get levy and state aid. So, like if you remember, I talked a little bit when we did the proposed levy, the board has the right to lower certain pieces if they wish. These categories, I would not recommend lowering the levy. If you lower the levy in these areas, you also say you're going to lower the aid. So we would lose state aid if you were to lower any of them. This section, we're going up about 214,000 in local levy. And the reasons are, as you know, we're making assumptions that are 2 years from now. So as these levies roll over year to year, there's adjustments that happen based on actual numbers that come through as far as student numbers and other expenditures. The state has equalized calculations for our aid versus levy. Not everybody gets the same percentage aid versus levy. Not every school district does. It's based on student numbers and property wealth in your district. And then our debt payments vary from year to year. And that's the major reason why this one went up. Our debt payment schedule has a higher payment this year than it did last year. The next area of the levy is these just come from local levy. We have a few decreases in this area. First one is reemployment. This is one due to an adjustment. A couple of years ago, we assumed during the pandemic that we would have a higher reemployment, but we didn't. So we get that credit back. So we had a higher level levy a couple of years ago. Now we have to lower it because we didn't have to spend those dollars. We also have decrease in health benefits levy. We now have enough in our bond to pay off our retiree health going forward. So this doesn't have to go on the levy anymore. The OPEB bond is still on there, but the pay-as-you-go levy is not. So that helped decrease it. And that's actually a change between today and what we had on the proposed. So if you remember what the proposed was, this current one coming for each and every $116,000 less than what you proposed back in September. So that's good news for our taxpayers. And then we also had a judgment levy on the levy a year ago, which was a one-time thing of $260,000. So that, of course, is not on this levy, which helps lower this levy. And there's just another recap of the reasons why we had a decrease. The last area of the levy is taconite production credits. We do qualify for production credits. What they are, it's from the local mines and how much mining they do, and it's on a 3-year basis. This replaces what the local mines would pay in property taxes. So this helps lower the local taxpayers portion of our levy. It doesn't give the district any more money, it just helps lower the taxpayers' amounts. So this year, production was a little bit higher than last year, so it's going to help lower the levy by about $21,000. And then this slide just shows the entire levy as a whole. And again, it's $4,080,635 is what you'll be asked tonight to adopt as the final levy. One other thing, about 3.2 million of that comes from voter-approved levy. So that's the voter-approved levy referendum and the voter-approved debt for our building. So I will open it up to any questions or comments from anybody.
Thanks, Spence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. We'll move now on to item number 4, recognition of visitor and visitor input. I didn't receive any, Deb didn't receive any, but I've been gone for the last 5 days.
Do we have to do anything?
I thought we had a
Got a cert.
3-1.
It's on later on the agenda.
That's
But do we
That's
change
later.
that later?
That should be later.
I have it on my,
I have it as 3.1.
Oh, do you?
Fine,
Yeah.
22 payable, 2023 levy.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize.
Oh, I thought-
I wrote over it. Thank you, Spencer. 3.1, consider certifying the 2022 payable 23 levy at $4,080,634.94. By Stacy, support by Brandy. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Sorry about that. We'll go over number 4 again. I didn't receive anything. Deb and Stacy didn't receive anything, anybody requesting formally, so we will move on to the consent agenda.
I requested last night too.
Did you,
I sent an email dated 2/11/22 at 12:57 PM to you, and I carbon copied the school board.
The only one that I saw was from Tom Walton. That was the only one that
but it didn't come through on the formal,
but we did discuss,
Right.
That's probably-
Policy.
well, but that's probably coming up
yeah, hasn't been
down the
passed.
line.
Yeah.
It's not our current policy. Until it's approved later on down the
Well,
agenda.
to you guys, because I haven't been here for 5 days, I haven't seen an email. I didn't receive anything formally through how you're supposed to do it, so.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine.
Fine with
Listening.
moving on?
Anybody speak who wishes to.
Yeah.
What's his email say?
712. Let's speak on 7.12. I'm fine letting him speak.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that too,
Do we know what,
but that's the only one.
What's 712?
It's,
that visitor input, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Speak on visitor input.
Public policy
Okay.
6.
Tom? Get up.
Go ahead,
Go
Tom.
on,
You
speak.
got 3 minutes.
Except for approval at the
Oh, yeah.
end of the meeting, so might as well.
Okay.
But I didn't see anything else come across.
Tom Walton, Evelyn. This ain't gonna be too long.
What are you referencing, Tom? What policy?
Policy that's up for adoption.
Which one?
206, it's on.
6.
Public participation in school.
Right?
All right, very good.
Procedures. Number 8. Depending on the number of persons in attendance seeking to be heard, the school board reserves the right to impose other limitations and restrictions, blah, blah, blah. That's a blanket cop-out. And I've seen that in a number of your policies. It's time you stop giving yourself a complete out for whatever you want.
But that's how MSBA is written, Tom.
You know what, Bill?
What MSBA?
We're not supposed to have
All right,
conversation.
okay.
No engaging.
Like I said, this is in a number of your policies. A blanket cop-out. You can do whatever you want. You need to start specifying. Okay?
Are you on?
Pardon?
What page are you on?
Page 5, at the top, number 8.
So I'm going to be the first reading anyway, so.
And again, down here, on the bottom of page 5, the school board may decide to hold certain types of public meetings where the public will not be invited. Possible examples are, yada, yada. You need to be specific. Otherwise, you just give yourself the option of making stuff up as you go along. And there's a lot of evidence that you do that quite often. Enough. Here's this one. A maximum of 10 individuals will be allowed to speak at any regular meeting. Well, committee meetings are regular meetings, so now we have visitor input at committee meetings? Thank you. I'm all for that. It's about time. And on this, if there's 20 people that want to speak, who's going to decide which 10 do not? I've been denied a lot of times. Is a person and persons who denied me, are they going to be the ones to decide who speaks and who doesn't? That's crap. You need to fix that. I want to know who's going to decide. That's a very reasonable request. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Tom,
Okay. We'll move along now with the consent agenda.
I will move to approve the consent agenda with 6.2 removed, to add Willie Speltz to talk about
Oh, no, no.
fundraising.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead there.
We already did that.
7,
Oh.
yeah, you don't have to remove it. Okay. Making a motion to adopt as presented.
Support.
Support by John. Is there any discussion?
For more information, I would like to separate and remove 5.21.
521.
Project-based learning leadership training conference.
Okay, we will take that up right after we vote on the consent agenda. 1 through 20. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Item number 21.
I was just looking for more information on this. What, 10 people will be going? Wait, yeah. And we're going all the way to California. I'm wondering if there's the same kind of training closer to home, or if a trainer can be brought here. I can anticipate some answers, but I'd like to know, did this come from a committee? Is it a recommendation from a committee or the administration?
I only know one of those, Polly. The answer to that is it's not located, it's not being presented anywhere else but in California. So
Can you just share information about what it's pertaining to?
Yes, members of the board, I do have some additional information on this. We have talked about this several times at a principal meeting. And this is a very unique situation because don't want to be recommending sending people to California on a regular basis. I don't think we've ever done this. This is really unusual. This particular conference only exists in California. There is no regional similarity to this. We talked about this a lot, and we said, do we really need to send people go? The principals and us and myself, after we talked about, we thought the answer was yes, because this is not going to be a common practice, we believe. However, for the kickoff, for the start, this is the most famous one in the United States. This is the one where we want to learn how to do it right with our leaders, because our principals need to know how to do this. And so I am recommending this, that you approve it. Now, however, it's up to you, because I knew this was going to get pulled off. It's a hard one to swallow. I completely get it. We don't have anything in the Midwest that's even similar to this. So if you say no, we'll just do our best to come up with some other way to get it done. If you say yes, we'll send a limited number of people there, and you can see who they are. And I guess this would be under the guise of the first time out of the chute, we want to get it right. And so we want to go to the best of the best who are doing this, and that's the rationale for why this. But I get it. This is difficult. This is a tough one, and we normally don't do this. I've never been up here asking any school board to send members to location this far away. But
what's the topic? What's the topic of the?
Project-based learning, how to do it, how to implement it. Because there's a good right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Project-based learning is actually a very disciplined, it's a sequential step where you go step by step through a process. So all of our students and staff who are doing project-based learning, it's a very disciplined process. You go step by step as far as what to do. And so we believe we're going to have to have our teachers know what this is. We're going to have to know our principals know what this is. And so that's what the main purpose of this conference is.
And there'd be 6 people going? It says 6 on here or no?
10?
6.
Oh, 6.
Who are those 6 people?
They would be principals and then Alicia Schroeder, our curriculum coordinator.
So just principals and Alicia.
The principals, yep,
Not you.
not me.
So that's,
Is it budgeted too?
Is that staff development
It
money?
would come out of staff development money.
Okay.
that would be 5 principals and Alicia. So who are the 5?
5 principals, we have 5 principals and then 1 curriculum coordinator.
5 high school principals.
No, 5
Well, no, the elementary will be doing some of this also.
Okay.
This is kind of the cornerstone of academies.
It's the cornerstone of the academies. The disconnect is, and I get it, it's just a long ways away.
So you said on the bottom, the last line on the second page, all seasoned teachers, administrators, and coaches are going, who are PBL experts.
We're only recommending sending a limited.
Oh, wait, that says the workshop will be facilitated by teachers, administrators, and coaches, sorry. Okay, when the principals are gone, we have step-up principals, or do we take teachers out to do their duties and then replace the teachers?
It's the good news, it's in the summertime.
Yeah,
Oh,
look at the date.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, they work during June anyway, so.
They do. It's a good time for admin to go because it's just a good time. It's the best time.
Thank you, Noel. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion by Stacy, support by Brandy. Is there any further discussion?
Just for clarification's sake, I'm looking at, it says July 26th to the 30th, but then on the sheet it says June 27th through 29th. I'm just wondering which one is accurate.
I would say 27th through
20
29th.
in June?
I would.
Oh, it's July.
Days are, there's only so many, they're only there so many days.
June 26th.
There's 2, I have 2 dates. I'm just curious to,
Do you know what it is, Noel?
I'm not looking at it right now, but my guess is that the conference runs from today, but you have to get there before the conference starts. So that's.
One says June, one says July.
One says July, one says June. I'm just wondering if
Oh,
you're.
yeah, no, that's a misprint.
June is a misprint.
July must.
The travel.
It's in June? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That'll be corrected. Is there any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We're going to start with reports. 6.1, recognition of school board members Stacy Schultz, Tom Tamero, and Matt Schulberg for their years of service and dedication to the district. And since those two aren't here, you get all three. No,
Seriously?
now, this is for you from the school district and the board.
Oh,
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll flip coins amongst the rest of us for Tom's and Matt's.
This is really thoughtful. This is really thoughtful. Thank you, everybody. It's truly been my pleasure to serve. I've learned a lot and was thankful to be a part of it.
How many years have you been on the board?
Just 8. Just 8.
Just 8.
It's felt longer sometimes.
Thank you.
Here you go.
On me.
I wouldn't done, that's used.
Thank you.
Okay, 6.2,
Thanks, Stacy.
Willie Speltz fundraising.
Good evening. Thank you for getting me a spot. Stacy, Matt, and Tom, thank you for all your service and everything you've done. You have obviously been a huge part of a major transformation, so thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations for all the success that you're so much appreciated. Just a couple of things tonight, and then a whole bunch of other things on this sheet come up in 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. First, I want to thank the recent donation awards from the Golden Bear Foundation, $500 to Angie Williams at Laurentian for recess supplies, and $418.18 for Lori Coapola and the CP. Thank you very much to the Golden Bear Foundation for those grants and donations. I would also like to recognize the Cleveland Cliffs Foundation has agreed to donate $350,000 to our Rock Ridge Rising campaign. That is an absolutely amazing donation. I want to thank Sandy Karnowski and everybody involved at Cleveland Cliffs Foundation. $175,000 is in hand this year, and the next will come at the turn of the year for the second donation of $175,000. Thank you for this incredible investment into our students, our communities, and our programs. We will recognize this wonderful donation by naming the high school commons the Cleveland Cliffs Commons. You'll see that when you walk into Rock Ridge High School. That paperwork will be coming through at the next meeting for you from our lawyer. So thank you very much, Cleveland Cliffs Foundation. And I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. We'll skip over 6.3. Oh, I guess you saw that. 6.3, we have the Laurentian Elementary Principals Report.
I didn't get that because I wasn't looking at the agenda. Good evening, and thank you for having me, and greetings from the Laurentian Elementary staff and students and families. We just finished our first trimester of school. We have 3 trimesters. We went away from quarters last year, so we just finished that up. Progress reports went home on Friday. They went home in the backpacks with the kids, and then they also went home electronically via Bright Arrow. So everybody at the Laurentian families and students should receive their progress reports. Our PTA has been busy. This Friday, they are going to be hosting a movie night for our families and students at Friday, December 16th at 6 o'clock. They'll be selling hot dogs and watching the movie The Grinch. So hopefully families and students can come and support the PTA at that event this Friday. We have a great venue for watching a movie in our heart space in our commons area. So it's a good space for that. Our sixth grade Laurentian ambassadors, which are really our student council for the school, they are hosting a food drive for the Quad Cities food shelf. So they're collecting non-perishable items, money, or even like bathroom items like soap, shampoo, toothpaste, to be delivered to the Quad City food shelf. So we're collecting items every morning for that event. So if you have students at Laurentian Elementary, please send them home, send them to school with a non-perishable food item. We've been collecting for about a week now. So we have till December 22nd, and then they'll do a delivery to the food shelf.
They've been doing a lot because I got my fill of those suckers for for fundraiser that was going on.
Yep.
So they're doing a lot.
Yep, and then also on December 22nd, it's going to be our first music program at Laurentian Elementary. It's going to be Mrs. Wilcox with our 5th grade orchestra students. They're going to be doing a concert at 2 o'clock on Thursday, December 22nd. So we'll see how it goes, with the parking and how many people will be there, and how that gymnasium will hold a music program. It's good that we're starting off with 5th grade orchestra because it's a little bit smaller, so we'll kind of get a feel for how it's going to go having a music program there in our gymnasium. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I know we've also just talked about the Golden Bear Foundation and saying thank you for the money that we received. And I also want to thank the Golden Bear Foundation for that. I think I've mentioned this before, but as we transition to this new building and we have our Phi Ed teachers in the gymnasium, and when we have an inside day during recess because of the rain or the snow or the cold temperatures, it's like, where are we going? In our old facility, we had multiple gyms that we could use, an activity room. So we really had to reach out to some foundations like the Gilbert Foundation, the Golden Bear Foundation. We had to reach out to them for some donations to help with some equipment that we could use for inside recess, because I don't always want to be using the Phi Ed teachers' equipment, so we wanted to have just our own for inside recess in the gym, or even when we go outside. So I thank the Golden Bear Foundation for that. And at the same time, I reached out to our PTA of, finding some games or help funding the carts that we put the games on, and activities for the younger kids, just like coloring books, crayons, markers. And so our PTA asked families to do a game drive, which they asked families for donations of old games that they're not using, board games. So I want to thank all the families that participated in that, because I was able to get probably about 50 games. So, and then with coloring books that came in, puzzles. So we have lots of activities for the kids to do if we do have inside recess. So I'm appreciative of all the help from the community and the PTA and the Golden Bear Foundation. And that's all I have.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6.4. Well.
Thank you, members of the board. A few things just to previews of what's coming up. We're about to turn into the next year, 2023. So a couple things, heads up, just what's coming. As soon as we roll into the new year, the high school staff are going to be registering the high school kids for the courses that they want. you'll be involved in that as far as budgeting goes, as far as personnel goes. So that whole process for us will start in January. You can expect having conversations related to that February. Certainly no later than March, when we start talking about FTE. And I know that's always, it's a time that we have to do it. And so that time is coming up. Also rolling around into the next school year is all the buildings moves we had last year. We get to do it all again. Although it's with different teachers, different students, different parents, different buildings. So this one is going to be as complicated and difficult as the one we had last year. So internally, we will start working on the process for it, making sure the vans, the boxes, the process, so teachers start, and they've already started cleaning out, because you can't bring everything with you. It's like when you're moving from one house to another, you go into the closet and you realize, I didn't even realize I had this here. So it's a great time for us to get rid of some stuff that we haven't used for a long period of time. We will also probably have another public sale of some school materials that we don't need anymore. Where will that sale occur? Probably, we think, somewhere at Virginia High School or in the annex. It could work out a little differently. We could, because of stairs and access, we may have it in the shop area where the big doors are in the back on the west side where the annex is. And so it could be something in that area because there's a lot of open space. We're not sure yet. But we will have another sale for the public to have an opportunity to get rid of to buy anything that to their heart's content. And I'm pretty sure, same as we had last year, there will be no shortage of bookshelves, desks, and other things that people can pick up. Along with that, I want to make sure that I don't want to forget, we also have, just like we did in the other buildings, we do have some unique artwork. We do have some unique items that were on that currently are on the wall. We will have to pay extra special attention to those and make sure that we properly take care of those. And if it's in a building that's going to be demolished, we properly take care of it. And then even if the building isn't going to be demolished immediately, that we properly take care of any artwork pieces that are in the building. So that is also a thing we'll have to be talking about once we turn to the corner to the next year. So exciting things coming up. And then, this is the one that everybody's going to be excited about. When the snow melts and you can actually see the baseball and the softball and the track and the football field, and this will even come up with the swimmers, I believe. Can we get into the building or can we use some of the facilities? So we are telling everyone, let's just hold. First, we got to get control of the building. We don't have it yet. So we want to make sure everything is working. So we don't want to promise people that we can go into the building on such and such a date and do certain things on such and such a date. We don't know that for sure. However, if it's an outside field, we're fairly certain we're going to be able to use the outside fields. But what we need to pay attention to is, just so you know, we're going to have to manage expectations, because we don't have enough custodians to manage all of the new high school buildings and fields and take care of the current buildings where the kids and the students are in, because they are in Virginia High School and Evelyn Gilbert High School all the way until the end of the school year. We don't have enough custodians to cover all of those high school fields. So we'll figure it out, but that's going to be a break as far as what we can and can't do, because as soon as people go into use any part of it, we got to pay attention to it. And we want to take care of it. And we also want to, we'll be talking more about this, we want to train our kids and our parents and our staff how to take care of these beautiful buildings. So people go in there and they're respectful to them. They realize this is an incredible thing that they have the opportunity. So we also want to pay attention to that. And our custodians, they're nervous because they know that they're the ones primarily in charge of making it clean. It's really all of our job. But the machines and how things work, what do they have to do? We want to have them all trained on the processes. Because we even have a whole new slew of machines just for the turf fields that they're already nervous about. I know they are. They'll do a great job. They'll figure it out. But it's just new to everyone here. So we'll get it figured out. So we'll have it'll be an exciting time. People will want to go. So, but just heads up that we'll do our best, but we might have to manage some expectations about especially in the inside of the building, just because of the custodians. But we'll see, we'll talk a little bit more, and we want to make sure everything's working.
Are we supplying with all the different buildings? Are we supplying the custodial staff with the machinery that they need for cleaning the floors and that kind of thing? I mean, we're providing this equipment that they need to make sure that it's.
We've had to buy some extra equipment for them. The example I'll use is I'm at Evelyn Gilbert High School, and there's that long walkway that goes from the high school that eventually goes to the athletics and eventually goes to Franklin. And I saw the custodian there with basically a kitchen vacuum, was vacuuming the whole thing, and I'm going, that's what he was using for years and years. That's not good for the rotor cuff and all that. So we got another piece of equipment for there. So yes, there are some pieces of equipment we are discovering that we need to buy. We do have some equipment we'll bring with us from the older buildings because it's still good. It still works. But we think on the inside of the building, we're not going to be spending anything like a couple $100,000 on new equipment. We had to get them, the custodians, because the windows are tall, a new thing to clean the windows on the outside of the building. They already were trained in that, and they had a lot of fun with that one. And they told me, I heard via, that they didn't trust me with it, but it went well. So we do have some pieces of equipment that we're going to have to get. But we're not in bad shape, actually, on that.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got shiny new buildings, and we want to make sure we have the equipment that's going to take care of it.
I've learned that the custodians are not shy about letting me know what they would like to have. But that's what you want them to do. You want your staff to say, hey, I need this.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions for Dr. Schmidt? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, when do we take ownership of that building?
We're supposed to take ownership the third or fourth week in January. However, it would not surprise me if it was a little bit later beyond that, because we're not taking ownership until everything is working. And so we know that everything, all those machines, the HVAC, everything, the pool, everything is running like it's supposed to.
So then a public open house would follow probably in the spring?
The official open house will probably take place sometime in early to mid-May.
Okay.
Then the people can go outside and the grass will start growing, et cetera.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say? Because I kind of rudely interrupted with my question on the equipment.
No, that was the end of it.
Okay. Sorry.
Nope.
Any other questions? Thank you. 7, we have changes and the first reading of 6 policies, 2032, 206, 515, 534, 604, and 722.
Jim, I'd like to take them separately, please.
Okay. 2032.
Yeah, I have no problem with that one. It's not that I have a problem with them, but I didn't have any input on that one.
Anybody have any questions on 2032? Okay. 206.
On the next one, I had Debbie make some copies. Because this is the first reading of that one, I'd like to send this out to board members to consider for the next meeting, the second reading, because we have to read them 3 times. And I did indicate earlier that I would make some notes of what my proposed changes would be. So if you want to go around, this is the first packet, I guess. And I wrote notes in the margins, and they have to do with guidelines, the 206 policy, 203.1, the form and the verbiage of the form. And so if you could review those before the next meeting. 203.1. And I cross-referenced into 206. My thoughts and ideas, I think they're important ones. The one on 206 now that I haven't addressed in those documents.
So what was the issue, policy, or Polly?
Remember incongruencies, and there were contradictions between our policy 206 and 203.1 and 105 something, and that they needed to be, you're probably reading in the margins there, you'll probably get the drift of where I think that's consistent and very confusing. Our guidelines say one thing, our form says another thing, and our policy kind of says something in between. Policy, it says that you have to fill out the form for both visitor input and if you want something placed on the agenda. 206 addresses both visitor input and agenda items to be placed, and it's our procedure, our guidelines, and our form. And our policy 206 references our form. I don't know that the board actually approved it by a vote, but it's referenced in the policy, and it says something different. But one change I would also like to make and make you aware of, it's not on the paper. I do agree, and I would have brought this up anyway, but what Tom had said about, I think it was talked about at one of the committee meetings, about have a workshop or a special meeting. I believe that the public should be able to have visitor input at those meetings too, because they're on topics that we're going to be addressing. They're topics that, whatever, it's school business. And so the idea is the same. I think the public should have input at those meetings too. And we can keep it, keep decorum the same as we can keep it at a board meeting. So I would like to change that part of it too.
So are you suggesting that we send these back to the policy committee?
You could do that. Read them and discuss them at our second reading.
That we adopt the first reading of policy 206.
We have a
Support it.
motion supported by Randy.
Because as Polly said, we can look at those things that she had made side notes about and discuss it at the next meeting. Second reading.
Yeah. The only problem I have with that, and I'm going to go along with this, the only problem I have with that is Polly, when we pulled all these back to the policy committee, she was supposed to give input to them so that they could look at everything and determine.
One meeting that we haven't had.
But she didn't bring it.
I'm doing it now.
That's fine. That's fine.
I have a life too, and when you see, was a lot of work to put this together, what I did put together. And I want consistent policies. That's all I want.
Very good.
All right, so don't.
So we have a motion to adopt 206 and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 515?
Okay, 515, I think there's just one thing.
We're not doing anything with 203?
She didn't,
There's nothing she had issues with.
She didn't have any.
I didn't.
Oh, we just kind of skipped that one?
At the,
Yep.
we'll go over the ones.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to, like, blanket motion at the end then, or?
I can move to approve that first one, 203.2.
I'd support that. Get out of the way.
So we have a motion by Paulie, second by John to support the changes to 203.2. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is the process correct here? Because you made a motion and I supported it.
That was just for the first reading of 206.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Just wanted clarification.
okay. And we're taking them piecemeal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 515.
On that one, I think I had mentioned something at a previous meeting on page 2, D, directory information. Now, there's a whole paragraph full of information that would be public and directory information on our students. And in a previous Evelyn district, Evelyn Gilbert too, we limited it for privacy purposes and for safety purposes, not to have all of these things as public information. I would guess that a student's name, but not address, and maybe the grade level would be sufficient directory information, and the rest could be considered, a danger to students. So I would like to limit the directory information, because then on page 5, it's kind of cross-referenced, page 5K, personally identifiable information. So if it's directory information and personally identifiable, that's a concern for me too. The less personally identifiable for our students' sake, I think would be better.
And this one has been changed from the original of MSBA, is that correct?
No, this one
Oh,
isn't.
that's not. It's as
Well,
written.
it's under, so this 515 is exactly as MSBA states it, okay?
And so to pass this as a first reading, I would like to change that directory information to just the student's name and their grade level. Date and place of birth, their address, their mailing address, some of these other things I just don't think is wise.
I'll move to adopt the first reading of the policy 515 as is.
I'll support.
And I guess just for purposes of discussion, and I can't recall off the top of my head who has access to directory information. But information regarding students is limited and restricted by Chapter 13 of the state statutes.
Directory information would be public information.
Right, and it's governed by state statute, Chapter 13, which is data practices.
I'm well aware of that.
Is there any more discussion? So we have a motion to approve 515 as is.
I will throw an amendment to it, just what I said, just directory information be only the name and the grade level.
So there is motion by Stacy and support by Bill.
Correct.
And my amendment, if I have a second or not.
Is there a second to?
Second it.
And your amendment is to,
Limit directory information to
Okay.
the student's name and grade level.
any other discussion?
Well, again, I mean, 515 is the recommendations of MSBA. They have their attorneys look through all of that information, and I feel that it's sufficient as it's presented.
We do have discretion, and other districts have changed.
That's true, but I'm voicing my opinion.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, and on K, it does say, here's what the definition of personally identifiable information means. Includes but is not limited to a student's name, the student's parent or other family members, the address, personal identifiers, other things. So it's almost like a contradiction. Personally identifiable, which can be directory information, which could be under 13, it could be private information. So anyway.
So our first vote would be with Polly's amendment.
Right.
Is there any other discussion? So the first we're voting on would be to limit the data. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So we have Polly and Nicole. All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
So that fails. We're back to Stacy and Bill reading of 515 as is. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
And we have 5 against 2 with Polly and Nicole voting against. It carries. 534, school meal policy.
Move to approve. Move to approve.
We have a motion by Polly, support by Brandy. Any discussion? Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. 604, instructional curriculum.
On page 5, I had a question, would like some clarification on whether our students take the civics test. 6 on page 5. Our policy says our students will take it. I'm just wondering if we take it.
I'm not an educator.
I'm at, well, who,
Well,
does anybody know? Do we,
what,
a student in a, must correctly answer 30 of 50 civics test questions. Do we give that to our students? It's in our policy that we give it, or that we must give it.
I believe it is at the high school level.
For some reason, I think it is too. I've got kids that are in high school.
There is a test that kids have to take on this topic. Most teachers weave it into their general test. It's usually not a standalone test, but it's woven into other tests that kids take.
Right, I just wondered if we are actually giving that civics test. All right, that's all I have on that one.
so is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. So far. Motion by Stacy, second by John. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 722, public data requests.
I'll move it.
Yeah, I had no comments on that one. I'll move to.
So support.
Stacy made a motion, support by Polly. Sorry, Bill.
All right.
Okay, buddy. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That takes care of these. Moving on to administration. Consider approval of Willie Speltz fundraising coordinator at RRPS to request the following funds from the Virginia Community Foundation, Marine Fund, $6,561, and the Educational Fund, $2,688.
I thought maybe you guys would just say so moved. Second. All those in favor? Wait, any discussion?
Yeah, I think I would love to encourage you to ask other people for money on our behalf.
After working with, I think we've talked about this, pardon me if I'm running some meetings into each other, but the Community Foundation has funds that benefit Rockridge Public Schools. They were born in the former Virginia Public School District. They are now known as the Wolverine Fund, which was previously the Blue Pride Fund, and the Rocky Regional Fund, which was previously the Virginia Educational Fund. The Virginia Community Foundation, parent company of all of that, has changed these over, and at the same time, they have given us more local control of these funds. Before, we would do all kinds of stuff internally, get a principal to sign off on a educational fund grant request, get an activities director to sign off on a Minnesota State High School League activity request. Then it would go to the Virginia Community Foundation for approval. And annually, we get in the area of, depending on how the market goes, the Wolverine Fund will get, like this one says, about $6,500 a year. And the Educational Fund, Rockridge Educational Fund, will get about $7,600 a year. We've already used $5,000 this 2022 year. That's why you don't see it on there. What the Virginia Community Foundation has done, they have onboarded us because we have created our own advisory committee in-house according to the Virginia Community Foundation guidelines, which now they are recommending that we just ask for all of the funds at the beginning of each January of each year. And then we can do our own internal, of course, following all of the rules that are identified in our guidelines from the Virginia Community Foundation. We can do all of it right internally and give that amount of money out each year. And then we'll do an annual report with the Virginia Community Foundation. That is very kind of them. It just seemed to make sense of them. The money is given to the school for the school. Why don't you and your advisory committee manage that money internally? So this is me asking for the 2022 funds from the Virginia Community Foundation, Wolverine Fund, and the Education Fund. I will do the same thing in probably 1 month or a month and a half for the 2023 funds.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Johnson, by Stacy. Is there any more discussion?
Nicole, did that make sense with you being a liaison of the board? Did that explanation make some sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for being on our committee.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. Thank you. And that would be me, because I'm on the Virginia Community Foundation.
Abstain, do I? Because I'm a liaison.
Huh?
Would I need, I wouldn't need to abstain.
No.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
just don't get to vote
I-
when you're with us.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Willie.
Virginia Community Foundation, Holly Lundgren was great at that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think you're probably coming up here next again. Okay.
Consider approval of the Coca-Cola proposal from Viking Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Willie.
There is one very, very important note in this information that was given to you tonight about this potential agreement. This is not the agreement. This is not the official. There's nothing to sign on here. This is information only. And on the page that talks about funding, the first paragraph, there aren't page numbers on here, so this is what I got from Coca-Cola, but there is a heading deep into it called funding. On that, the first line says, Viking agrees to provide $25,000 in year one of this agreement. In return, customer agrees to provide exclusive naming rights to the football track stadium. Insert concession stand after the word stadium.
Oh, okay.
Insert concession stand after the word stadium. And please pass that on to everybody, just an omission from Coca-Cola. I talked to her today. when it was brought to my attention. She agrees, I have the new one, but again, this isn't the agreement, so don't worry. In the agreement, it will be correct. Information only here, that's why we do this. So please pass that on to anybody who contacted you. They're naming the state, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Much more sense, so
No,
thank
they're
you.
not, no, they're not, no, they're not. And I even talked to Mr. Radens, who was involved with part of the stadium and everything that goes with that, so.
I would make a motion to approve that Coca-Cola.
We have a motion by John,
Support.
support by Stacy.
Just for discussion, and since Willie's up here, part of the emails that I received had questions regarding, there's other companies and things that donate like water or, other products, and they were wondering how much flexibility the booster clubs have in, in receiving those donations, whether or not they can receive the donations. And the other question that had come up too is, a lot of the booster clubs obtain the funds or the profits from those concession stand sales, and there was questions regarding, how that would impact the booster clubs. So if you could speak to that, that would be wonderful.
All right, give me the first one again to speak.
So the first one was, will booster clubs have some flexibility in getting donated items from certain
Other vendors.
from other vendors, like water or, candy donations or things like that?
Two different items, stay on the water, take the candy out of that, if that's okay.
Yep.
Pardon my point.
So that's
So
one of the questions.
my understanding, I will ask Coca-Cola how they will deal with that. But Coca-Cola, with their $25,000 cash donation and their $40,000 equipment donation, all of the refrigerators, coffee machines, you really need to look inside here at the equipment that they are donating, that we don't have the funds to purchase. So I'm just the message carrier here. I see this on the Grand Rapids campus. I see this at the Iron Trail Motors Convention Center. I see this at the DEC, Amsoil Arena, and at obviously the Wild and Viking stadiums. There are beverage contracts. So what I can tell you is not being the expert, but there certainly can't be competitor companies donated. You're not going to sell a donated 12-pack of Pepsi in the exclusive agreement with Coca-Cola. I hope that, and I don't mean this if it is, I hope that that's kind of obvious, right?
And just speaking to that, I mean, the people who contacted through email, who are part of the boosters, were very appreciative that, Viking Coca-Cola are making those, equipment donations and financial donations. They're very appreciative of that. It doesn't necessarily have to do with that. It's just, they want to know what they can accept for donations and
Resell.
will they still make profits to help fund their booster clubs?
Willie, you and I had a short conversation about this, so every booster club will be set up with an account?
Yes. I was gonna hang with the first question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. The first question was about, I'll go back to it. You're obviously not going to sell donated Pepsi items or donated non-Coke items.
Well, maybe to clarify, I know like for basketball, people might be asked to bring a case of water that gets sold. So are we supposed to like donate only Dasani because that's a Coke product, or?
I have to ask that.
I think that was the.
Because the agreement is a give and take on both sides. We get a percentage each time that we order, buy, and then sell at whatever price we want. So I would imagine, I don't want to speak to it, but I would imagine you're probably not going to be asking for donated items since we're in a contract. That's going to have to be probably a deal breaker or a deal maker. I don't know that, but that doesn't help Coca-Cola on their end of selling their product to us. So I would have to find that out. We probably have to order everything that we sell.
You can safely assume you have to order everything through them, and that's,
Right.
and that's what you're getting. I mean, I did the same thing when I managed the canteen for youth hockey. They had for 5 years. They brought coffee equipment down and coolers down. It worked out well. I mean, you don't make as much, but it's their equipment, and when it breaks, you call them, they fix it. And you're getting a lot of value there.
Yeah, definite benefit.
That makes sense.
I mean, I look at this like, okay, the booster clubs, okay, it's usually pretty self-sustaining. They got all their own equipment now. Okay, they got their own popcorn machine. They got their own beverage coolers. They got their own coffee machines. Their molten cheese maker for the pretzels. I see all that. When it comes to like the equipment, well, yeah, they're retaining all the profits in 5 years is going to be forfeited. Well, that's not really donating nothing if you're forfeiting all your profits. Right here, for the first in 5 years, I don't know if you guys read this. Okay. I'm not for this. I just think it needs to be looked at. I mean, 10%, you're only going to get 10% commission rate on a bottle of water or pop out of a machine. I mean, I get it. You know, they're trying to make a buck. I think the boosters make more money. Okay, I've seen it. I wasn't part of the boosters, but I was in the booster club where wasn't in it, but I sold concessions. I think it needs to be looked at by maybe the boosters. I see Mr. Hazelton has his hand up.
Yeah.
You certainly can, yes.
Maybe give me some clarification if I'm wrong, but I
was in the meeting with Coca-Cola, was it 2 weeks ago? And we're not forfeiting $5,000 of profit. There's another reimbursement program that is tied to. That $25,000 is tied to their Powerade.
Which is in here.
Which is in their program.
Yeah.
So that doesn't have anything to do with our profit margins. That's just, they're giving us an advance on our potential earnings by selling Powerade. And that's just a kickback. That's not a profit. That's just
You're in the Powerade for Schools program.
Yeah,
you should make about $5,000 a year. They're giving us that upfront.
So the customer agrees that they will participate in the Powerade for Schools program and will have all requirements, elements represented. Customer and Viking agree that funds earned in the 1st to 5th years will be forfeited. Just on what? Just Powerade?
On this program.
Or
on this
It's
program.
not even the funds on the Powerade.
Okay.
It's points that you get for selling Powerade. So we sell 10,000 bottles of Powerade. In addition to the 10% profit we get, there's another up to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 what we have to potentially come back to the school. So it's an extra incentive program attached to it.
Okay.
So
And
they're
it's-
essentially front loading that 5-year program with $5,000 a year.
So how does that work with somebody like a local business or that's going to donate, $500 worth of Pepsi products? We'll be able to put that Pepsi product in our own freezer?
No.
You can't accept it.
This isn't.
I don't know. This is.
Have them donate $500 for the hot dogs or something else.
Yeah.
Or candy bars.
We talked about the candy, which, Coca-Cola doesn't sell candy.
Everything that's all of the.
Plenty of opportunity to donate. This is a way to outfit, how many concession stands? 3?
And I will
Football
say,
field, basketball, and baseball?
Yeah.
and having worked plenty of concession stands, there's always a piece of equipment that's broken.
Yeah.
Whether it's the nacho cheese warmer or the hot dog roller or the coffee pot, something is always broken.
And I know that at least 2 of the people that contacted me were a part of the booster clubs, and they were very appreciative with the fact of equipment donation. So,
So how long does this agreement last then?
15 years.
That's a long
Believe it
time.
or not, all that info is in there, I promise.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it
Is
says,
there any other questions?
year 1 to 5 and then starts at 6, so then it goes to 15. My question is, were any other businesses like this given a chance to put a proposal together?
Pepsi and I were in contact a while back, and they never came back with this offer. or anything to this
Okay, and
size.
any
And
other?
we were aware that we were interested in.
Any other company, but did it go out as like a formal RFP or an ad in the paper that we're looking for this service? Because I don't know if the competitive bidding laws, this is tons of money, and it's going to go over those dollar limits. And so I just want to do it right. I want to do it in competitive bidding process.
I'm thankful that it's Coke over Pepsi.
So any equipment malfunction, they're gonna be like on it, fixing it, getting it back online or whatever it needs to be done?
Replace or repair, yep.
All right.
They got that same tech. He's good. He's a busy man, but he's, I can't remember his name is, but he's very good, very, on top of it.
Is there any other discussion?
Did not go out into a public RFP or an advertisement. We're looking for this service.
If you guys didn't tell us to, no.
Okay, so.
I don't know how to do that. I'm not commissioned to do that.
I know, it was a solicited, or either they came to us or we maybe solicited somehow. And I just don't.
The only thing,
Read that process.
of course, this is different because we're having product, but we didn't do an RFP on the football field or the baseball fields, or
And maybe
we certainly, we didn't do an RFP on the commons, and we're getting, $350,000 for it. It's people, for a year and a half, he's come up here and talked and presented everything that we're getting that's been in the papers. And
Again, the people that reached out said they don't want to jeopardize the opportunity that's being presented. And that came from people in booth clubs, so
I didn't.
I can support that.
I know I just talked with one person, but if that's what the email said, then I will move ahead to support this then.
with no further questions,
Just have one question. This is like an informational packet, but it's not like an agreement. Should we not have a formal?
That's what I said at the
agreement?
beginning.
he will get that.
So
That's the auto class.
what are we voting on? Just this information?
Do you want to move forward and have it moved into an agreement?
Okay, that's the clarification. So we will again get a formal agreement?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was saving money on the lawyer's fees by finding out if I should do it or not first. Good job.
So we'll consider the approval in a vote then?
Yep, because I think we have a motion.
We have a motion by John, second by Stacy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One with Polly voting no.
Guys,
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
answering the questions.
You're,
Might have one more.
you are, 6.3. Consider approval of the naming rights agreement.
Point 3.
Yes, we talked about this at the last meeting. City Auto Glass has now, as you can see, stepped up beautifully and is offering a wonderful donation of $60,000 to name the second baseball field that we have, formerly known as the JV baseball field, now maybe futurely known as the City Auto Glass baseball field. What a wonderful, this comes from even more grassroots than me. I'd like to thank Jamie Linseth, the head baseball coach. He has a relationship with Red Lowen at City Auto Glass. They've been in fishing contests together and sponsoring, and he checked in with him, and Red said we'd be very interested in supporting the new Rock Ridge Rising campaign and come on your campus, and we'd love to give a donation and in exchange do some things with the ball field and name it City Auto Glass baseball field.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Brandy,
Support.
support by Bill. We'll do a roll call on that. Oh, is there any discussion?
I have a question. I was reading through and I'm just wondering, because it wasn't clear to me, but do they provide the signage then for them? Or do we provide?
Inside the donation, we'll pay for the signage.
Is there any other
Anything
question?
Above and beyond, it says that it'll be mutually agreed upon. But the signage has been a windscreen in the outfield and then a Core 10 steel sign at the field site. They are up at the Franzen Bank and Trust field and at the SEPI field. They're already up, so during the day tomorrow, maybe take a drive through or in the next couple of days and check them out. They're beautiful.
You know how much?
They're silver right now, and in 2, 3, 4 months, they will weather to rust color forever.
Do you have an idea of how much those cost?
About, what is it, 33,000? Yeah,
Or both of them?
maybe another 1,000 for the windscreen. All estimates, of course, because time's a couple year basis.
And then, so do we have, what, one more or two more fields? 2 softball fields
We
left?
have one softball field.
Softball? Okay.
We have a whole bunch of other things too. If people are interested, give me a call. A bunch of other things I can tell you about.
What's your number again?
218-290-1237. Willie.spelts@rrps.org. That's Willie with an IE and Spelts with an S at the end.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd just like to say again, like, just so thankful of how the community is coming together, whether there's big donations or small donations. I think every donation matters and supports our students, and just appreciative.
Thanks, Stacy.
Agreed.
All those in favor signify by, oh, wait a second.
Roll call.
We're going to do a roll call, and I have it right on here. John,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Tim, unanimous. Records show that. Thank you.
Special thanks to Red Lowen again and Jamie.
Yes.
That was a great relationship starter.
Thank you.
Thanks, gang.
Thank you.
It's really.
Consider approval of planning, implementation, evaluation of Minnesota Department of Health statewide health improvement program. And I'm not going to go any further. I'll let the experts talk about this. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I have Cassandra Haney with me, but I'm going to give you the backstory on how this all started before I let her get into what you have in front of you. We, as a DRT team, and I call it my data review team at our building, all of our buildings have a data review team where we look at kids, try to figure out where their struggles are, where they're doing well, and try to get supports for all kids. And through our data review team, we came up with some troubles in finding some supports or things we could do for kids. And they asked if there was trainings on it. So lo and behold, we were talking, and Kelly Kennedy, our counselor, said, you know, Jody Farr has been up here. She's done a couple trainings, I think 2 or 3. She did a big one at, what I call it, I was gonna say the Discovery site, I always call it Iron World still, but, and she's done a couple other ones. And so she said maybe we could reach out to her. So I did. I went back to my office and I reached out to Jody. Well, the same day, the high school group of counselors and social workers were also meeting, and they also reached out to Jody. It was just coincidental that it was the same day, same type of a situation. So I got together with them and talked about how we could bring something in. So in looking at Jody, she would come to us with a program called Urgency of Awareness. She's been doing some work with different agencies, schools, all kinds of community groups. And she works with groups to try to help work effectively with diverse populations. So she tries to teach us the different and how to better understand and be conscious about the things that we have gone through as an individual, and how to also understand and appreciate and work with people that have gone through different things. So we're looking at differences, economic differences, gender differences, race differences, all the differences that we could find. And she tries to bring everybody together and to look at yourself as well as those other groups and how you can better meet their needs. So when I started talking about that, of course, I brought it to the admin team, and we were talking with how we could get funded for this, because of course there's a cost that goes with bringing anybody on. And Cassandra just graciously, showed up in my office. I don't know, it was the same week, I think, and I said, hey, I have this, and we started talking. So she has really taken the bull by the horns since then, and have been a tremendous help in trying to find funding to bring this to our staff. And when I say staff, I'm not talking the Parkview teachers and staff, I'm talking everybody, district-wide, coaches, custodians, bus drivers, anybody and everybody that works for the Rockridge Public Schools will be invited to this. So I will let Cassandra explain some of the funding that we are hoping to get.
Good evening. So because of my relationships in the community, because of the work that I do now and the work that I've done previously, I was aware of SHIP funding. So SHIP stands for Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. So this funding comes from the state, and then it's administered through the county. The funds are, we fall under their flexible spending activity, which supports community-driven solutions for well-being and social connection in a school setting. So that's a lot of words to say that they look at what the community, let the community look at what they need in a school setting to support social connectedness. So it's just a very natural fit. The cost for bringing Jody in is $12,800, which they are able to fund. There are a few things kind of that they would like to see as a result of this. One of those being somebody from the leadership team going and presenting at a statewide conference. I already have to present for my work at a statewide conference. They know this, and it fits in with their interpretation of how this should be carried out. And then really just our community members feeling that the staff is reaching out and caring about them is kind of the goal of this fund. We also are exploring ways to feed everybody. That's kind of still in the works, but because it's a day-long training, it's better if people can stay and have those conversations over lunch. But that is not secured yet. But the $12,800 would cover the cost of bringing in Jody, books for every single person that attends, and the facility so that we can go off campus. So nobody's tempted to go to their room and just do this one quick thing and then be gone for half an hour or an hour, that we're all there and together. What they need from the board is a resolution saying somebody can sign the agreement saying that we'll spend the funds on this. I also just personally would love to invite the board, whether it's stopping in during the day or if there's anybody who has the availability, the current board or any new board members to be there with us, I think would be incredibly beneficial to you personally and to us as a school. I've attended a training by Jody and she's really funny. So, what questions do you have?
It sounds to me like it is really looking at kind of the whole child, whole person approach where we acknowledge that everyone's coming at this from different perspectives, different stages in life, and just trying to find some common ground. Is that about right?
Yeah, and also when you look at how our staff is able to provide education and service to community members, there's also trust that needs to be built both ways. And so really helping our staff to have some of the language around ways to make that more possible.
Did any of the board members look at Jody's website and the types of resources and writings that she's done about this whole topic?
I did a little bit, yeah.
I have deep concerns about this. This is a hot political topic. You say we don't have CRT in this district? This is 100% CRT, equity, inclusion, diversity, all the isms. And if you took a look around her website and you see where she's coming from and the associations she has and the recommendations that she's making, this is hot, and I don't want any part of it personally.
I would disagree that these two women are standing in front of us advocating to bring CRT into our school.
Well, then
it's not anything that I just heard in their presentation. And I think the
Not
comments.
be aware of it though either. I mean, maybe.
Excuse me?
Some due diligence, look into it ourselves.
I think that they have done their due diligence, and so I don't want to disrespect them by saying that they're like trying to sneak in critical race theory into our school.
I'm not saying that.
That's kind of what you did just say.
Did not say that.
Okay.
Do not be clear.
My mouth.
Words of mine.
I didn't.
Cassandra, you did state that.
Watch it.
Cassandra, you did state that you've attended conferences, workshops that she's put on, and you have too?
I have not. It was actually, the last one that was up here was in June, and I wasn't able to go to it as the first week out of school. But there are a number of teachers that have attended it when it was up here. It's been put, I think, last time she came up here, it was put on through
The United Way.
the United Way, yeah. So.
Were you aware that she quotes a man named Baba Ramdas? She quotes him, and she uses his philosophies and theories in her book and in her teachings. Baba Ramdas, he's a psychedelic guy who did acid tripping with Timothy Leary in those days. We're talking about mind, body, spirit, and this is all Eastern mysticism. Chi Ni Song, there's a recommendations here for that. That's where your energy, the energy that you have can heal your internal organs and all this kind of massage. Excuse me, she wrote a piece on her thing about Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, and it's very political. It's very one-sided political, and I'm not sure that this is a neutral person or party or even these topics. And all staff are going to be trained in this. This is just what we feared. Here's Baba Ramdas right here.
Okay. Is there, thank you, Polly. Is there
Make a motion that we,
there's a motion?
I mean, it's your opinion, Polly.
But it's
almost like
fact.
you're trying to gaslight something that's not.
it's not fact.
Fact, this is what the guy is.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill.
If you look at our website, it's very one-sided politically. That's all I'm saying. So
Like Polly said.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'd rather someone more neutral, but I respect what you
Boards
say.
are supposed to be nonpartisan.
This is
Okay.
very partisan.
This is not nonpartisan.
Well,
I would just.
I haven't seen it, but I'm just.
Maybe you should
what I'm
research
saying.
it,
We should look
okay?
into it,
You
that's
know what,
all.
you don't know what you're approving.
I'm going to call
And
the
you
question.
stated,
Can't call a question, by the way.
You certainly
ask one more
can.
question of them?
Yes, go ahead.
And you stated that there was staff that also looked into the same,
Like the high school counseling group, which was the high school counselors, Judy Strummel, our school social worker. On one of our Wednesdays, they had been talking about basically the same thing, like how can we have a better understanding of how we can better support all of our groups. And that was her name was one that came out of their group as well. So it was just kind of coincidental that we both had talked about the same type of a thing and both had been recommended.
Did this come through the curriculum process, the curriculum review process? No, it came from certain people and certain buildings talking. I have one more thing to say. Anybody in our staff who does not want to take this, because this is a very personal thing, should not be forced to take this training, have an exception. Because I certainly would be one, and I think there'd be a lot of them.
All those in favor in supporting this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
We have 5 for, 2 against, and that against would be Polly and Nicole. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
lady.
Thank you.
Consider approval of course documents regarding offered classes at Rockridge High School. And who will be, is that Mr. Winter? Is that? You're on the hot seat. Uh-oh.
Another guy that wasn't.
2 of them.
Agenda.
2 of them.
And really, we presented this last week. There's really nothing more to add. I guess I would just entertain questions if you have questions on it or need me to go into any more detail with anything.
Well, there's been some emails that have been coming by about this music thing, that this music seems to be a really hot topic. Music, court, anything you can do to tweak that, to make it work, so everybody's happy?
I just have one comment on that.
Okay.
People don't realize that as our music program is now, it's 1 year, 7th grade. Now they're mandated to be in it 2 years. So they're not giving up any, they might maybe take choir 1 year and band the next. We're actually giving them opportunities to take more than one and more than 1 year.
And I'll add, I talked to a couple of the music teachers, and they are supportive of it because they think it will enhance the program. They said that right now the groups are so large that it's hard to make the connections. It's hard to work the musical numbers the way they would like them to be worked.
Right.
So they felt that doing this would actually enhance the music program.
Well, in saying that too, just because I did reach out from the music program regarding it, and, you know, because I was struggling with it too. But they had said moving to every other day will allow us to separate the 7th and 8th grade into smaller, more manageable groups. Another argument for it was that students will have more opportunity to experience a wide range of courses and electives without having to choose some over others. If the, you know, let's see here. If the every other day plan does not pass, one of two things will likely happen. Either another elective like VAX, art, industrial tech, etc., will not be offered to those students.
They have to take those.
Requiring
VAX and industrial tech.
requiring students to be in music, both in 7th and in 8th grade, will result in a net gain for the music department. A number of students drop music after 7th grade, it was stated. So those were just some of the arguments that were made for why this is happening. And I get the part about having a classroom that's more manageable. I mean, how much, if you have, and I'm just throwing out a number, if you have 100 people in your music class and you're dealing with behaviors of students, it's going to be awfully difficult to provide quality music lessons if you have such a large group. And, you know, and my perspective is we're seeing more and more mental health needs and behaviors than we've had in the past, personal opinion. And so I understand where they're going with that, and I think quality is important. Yeah.
How do the large school districts, they've got a lot more students, and how do they get around that large band classes or choir classes? I mean, we're relatively small compared to a lot of other schools.
Did you look into that?
Yeah, and other districts
do that.
They have band 1, 2, 3. We had like Virginia had a cappella choir, then you had maybe a general music choir or whatever. I don't know how, but I know they had separate ones so everybody could participate. Other districts do have band every year, and our former district did have it every year, just because we don't have it now, and maybe Virginia didn't have it. I think it's going to hurt the program.
Talk to any of the teachers in the music departments?
I've had communications, yes. Yeah, and with
And so you're getting a different input than what sounds like Brandy and I got.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's not the communication I got, but if you got that from the teachers, then I'm good.
I was told that they weren't unified by a music teacher, that they're not all on the same page.
No, I talked to two of them, and Mr. Melby was one that said I could use his name. He sent out an email to all the band parents and said that I could quote him, and was willing to, put himself out there for that.
Well, that's fine. That's
He was the one, he's got up to 110 kids currently in a class, and he said he was the one that said it's hard to make those connections, and that smaller class sizes, splitting it in half, would provide for more enrichment during lessons. They wouldn't be pulled out of other classes for private lessons. And then they would be able to get more done in half the time.
Is that a 7th and 8th grade band, or is that a 7th and then an 8th grade? Yeah.
Mr. Melby does all the band.
No, I mean, does he have 7th and 8th
Yes.
together?
No, the 7th grade band, I think, is 110.
Just the 7th grade?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of kids.
You give them all something to make noise with?
Yeah.
And encourage them to practice at home. You can always bring your instrument home and practice at home as well.
Yep.
And the teachers make themselves available before and after school. If he wants to go in for a little extra, tune-up or whatever.
A way that would make this work is, I suggested it before, was it looked into an 8-period day, so you'd have that extra slot. And when you move to project-based learning and academy style, the academy is going to have to go on a block schedule. And then you've got 8 periods right there to work with. So I don't know why you couldn't do that as a solution. So some people who would want band in 7th and 8th grade, both all year round, would not be denied of that.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I do believe that Noel also spoke to if there are certain students that do wish to have every day, that you guys can make that work.
I'd like to know how that would work.
It's actually very easy. This goes back to Bill, your original question. This is very common in schools that this issue comes up. So all we do is we have musicians who really love band or choir, they really love it. We just simply put them in band, choir, or orchestra every day. Now, if something has to go, that means they're not going to take something, because something always has to go. We want our kids to take a multitude of different courses, experiences in that 7th and 8th grade. But I can tell you what's going to happen. You will have some parents who will absolutely insist that they want their child in music every day. Perfect. We can handle that. We can take care of that. We just talk to them. We'll talk to them individually, and they just need to understand they're giving something up. Okay? You'll have a lot of other kids who, if we put them in every other day, everyday music, they'll be okay. And then they'll see what the other kids are taking, and they'll go, how come I can't take art? How come I can't take tech ed? How come I can't take FACS? You're in almost a no-win situation, but you are going to have more kids, and I've seen this before many times in many different districts. You will have more kids saying, I'm perfectly okay with music every other day because I get to take art, I get to take tech ed, I get to take the FACS. You're just going to have more kids say, I want that. We can take care of the parents and the kids who really want the music. We can take care of them.
No, I have a question on that, though. So if music and Phi Ed are on the opposite, how can you give them music 5 days a week because they need their required Phi Ed? And then when you're talking about art and FACS, and those are required courses, so they have to have those.
Yeah.
And so,
Director Sorkin, we can't have everything be a required course. Other than that, this doesn't work. If you tell me you don't want any kids taking this everyday music option, we don't do it.
But you have it on here.
But I know, but I'm saying there's always situations that come up. There's always unique situations that always come up in scheduling. These gentlemen, the smartest they can do is to have some options available so they can take care of these unique situations. And they individually schedule these kids. That's really what they do.
So I have made the motion that we approve the plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bill. The question I'm going to ask now is there any other questions other than music from any other board member?
yes, I do, and you can't limit my comments anyway. So is not a form of art in the 7th grade and family computer science required? And in the 8th grade, industrial tech and health, and the same up there. Are these required courses? So how can you say they can take something and take music 5 days a week? There's,
They're not all required by the state, and they're broken down in different ways.
which ones are required by the state?
Health, for instance, is a band. It's between 6th and 8th grade. It doesn't have to just be
Okay.
a particular time. Fax is not a standard in neither is industrial tech.
I thought
They're
industrial
not
tech
required
was
classes.
not in 7th or 8th or anywhere. Okay, I know art is, you have to have some kind of an art thing.
Yeah, art is broken into the fine arts. You have to take 2 different fine arts throughout, every year through high school, actually. You have to do it
And in elementary too, I know.
in elementary too.
And so I don't know, I've got an answer to the question about going to an 8-period day, and then everybody could be happy. That would even open up 2 more halftime, if we wanted halftime. And that way, music, for those who want it, can be full-time for 2 years. 8-period day, what's the answer to that?
I can answer that one. Director Sorkin, that is a colossal shift. That would entail multiple discussions with our teaching staff about the number of minutes per day they're teaching and the number of minutes per day that they have a prep. Because as soon as you extend the number of periods in a day, you're going to run into some contractual issues. I'm not saying we can't look at it, but this is not going to work for next year to take a look at an 8-period day. It involves significant cooperation and agreement with our bargaining groups.
It does, and it works, and Evelyn Gilbert did it for a year or 2, and yeah, maybe that conversation should have happened before this came to say, now we can't undo it, it's too complicated. And so isn't.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well.
Because part of the reason you used the term block schedule, that is not our language. That is not what we're proposing and they're going to develop. We're looking at in the high school, I would call it a hybrid schedule. Some courses are going to be longer. Some courses are going to be shorter. Math teachers, frankly, really don't want to have 90 minutes a day of math course. They may want shorter periods of time. Some of our courses like wood shop, they're going to need a little bit longer time. So we're going to develop a high school schedule where some courses are shorter and some courses are longer. It's not a block schedule. It's more probably hybrid schedule is more correct.
Okay, but there are hybrid block schedules. That's a generic term, block schedule.
Holly, I think we're off the subject here.
I wanted an answer to my question of the beginning, was an 8-period day considered to make this work?
They said no.
Contractually, we can't do it.
Yes, you can, and we did it. Anyway, one more question. I asked this before, but now this laundry list of elective courses for grades 10 and 12 are even longer. How in the world can we offer all these, and how do you winnow that down, and what about staff?
By number of kids that request it.
We only have so many kids in the population. How can you divide them by all of these courses?
But I think if there's not enough kids for a course, they don't offer it.
Correct. The list you have, the list you see was proposed by the teachers. They put it together, they put the list together. If a course doesn't have enough interest, it won't.
And that's been the past practice as well, that if we don't have enough kids for class, it doesn't get offered.
Well,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the course documents offered at Rockridge High School. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
no.
Passes 7-1 with
Thank you, guys.
Ollie.
Thank you.
And thank you. Consider approval of Rockridge Coaches and Advisor Handbook.
So questions that you may have on that?
I have a couple.
Yes.
One is, I had somebody reach out about donations. Like if you were to give, if somebody wanted to make a donation, there's some language in the Coaches and Advisors Handbook regarding individuals, businesses that want to make donations for, different supplies for different teams or whatever. What's your take on that?
I guess I need a little bit more specifics. If it's uniforms, we're under contract right now under uniforms.
Okay,
So any uniforms that are donated should be purchased through our current contract. We have it right now, which is the BSN. I think we have 2 years left on that contract. After that contract is up, we can obviously look at, are we going to renew that? Are we not going to renew that? And then we would be open to looking at donations of whichever company you want, Nike, Rawlings, Reebok, to whatever. But it's,
So like, what would be the reasoning behind the district wanting to choose those kinds of things is like things about colors, making sure the colors are correct, making sure that the design, let's say, is, you know, not gaudy or whatever the case may be. So that would be the reasoning why if somebody were to make a donation towards, you know, it could be band uniforms or whatever, if they wanted a specific band uniform, can they make that request when they're making a donation?
if the company doesn't offer that item, like band uniforms, BSN, Under Armour does not deal in band uniforms. Anything that they do deal in or have a partnership with, they may not offer Under Armour per se. Let's say, we'll take hockey. Hockey didn't offer Under Armour, but BSN had a deal with Smithwick. So Smithwick was the company that filled in or was used for hockey uniforms through the BSN contract with Under Armour. Under Armour essentially is a parent company of Smithwick.
Okay, so the district's position would be that if somebody makes a donation, it would have to be approved by the district, I think is what the wording is.
Yep.
Okay. And then I did have another question about, just a curiosity question. You know, I've been noticing a lot in approvals of coaches and things about having a varsity, a JV, an assistant coach. Has that been the situation this whole time? Because it seems like there are some sports that just have a varsity coach and a JV coach. And in my experience, the JV coach has always been the assistant to the varsity coach.
In the last teacher's contract, Schedule B was in there, and that's where they went through and decided which activities had which sports. When that was presented, Mr. Lampa and previous AD, Jojo Scott, put forth those proposals for each activities and how many coaches and which coaches they would have. There are times when let's take girls golf. They just had a request to combine the assistant and junior high coach, combine the salaries and make that into 2 assistant coaches. So that's a request that we're going to look at and see if that's something that we could do for them. But the teacher's contract is where that language and the number of coaches came from.
Okay, and back to the other question about the donation, like, is there a opportunity that somebody that does donate funds for, again, I'll throw out the band uniforms, if somebody were to make a donation for the band uniforms, can they work with the district on, you know, having some input into
the ones that are chosen, absolutely. I mean, if they can work with the head coaches, if somebody wants to give $10,000 to cross-country for new uniforms, they can work with the cross-country coaches, say, okay, this is the options that we have, we kind of like this one, what do you think? And have some banter back and forth with it.
Okay.
Hopefully you guys would be involved in that as well.
What's that?
Hopefully the ADs would be involved in that as well.
Yes, we'll be involved in that as well. And just a side comment with this document in front of you says coaches and advisors. In reality, it's primarily a coach's handbook. I'm in development of an advisor's handbook that would be more geared towards NHS, student council, that better fits that category.
Okay.
So in the coming months, actually coming weeks, it's almost complete, we'll have an advisor's handbook that's more suited for those type of activities.
It's just for now, we need to cover advisors too, so that's why we're doing it now. Okay.
We're looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
We have a motion by Bill. Is there a second?
Support.
Oh, thank you. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider approval of Virginia Community Foundation grant request in the amount of $3,217.70 to be used to purchase games for the 5th through 8th grade MITRE program.
Is it MITRE or is that mentor?
Is it
That's spelled
mentor or MITRE?
Meter.
Huh?
Meter? Okay, meter
move.
program. We have a motion by Bill.
Support.
Support by Brandy. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
7-1, Paulie.
Hey, Tim?
Yes.
That will now come, that's just a permission, that will now come to the advisory committee for a vote.
Yeah.
That we talked about earlier. That will always be a have to do that.
Consider approval of the consultant agreement between Croson Group, Minnesota, and Rock Ridge Public Schools effective March 1st, 2023 through March 2025.
That'd be,
I'll make that motion.
I'll support. That'd be Costin Group.
What did I say, Costin?
Something like
I'm sorry.
I don't know what you said.
Yeah, and I think this is not roll, this is a roll call vote if I'm not correct, right? Not B?
It's safer to do a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Stacy and Bill seconds. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple of questions. Was our contract with them last year for a one-year contract?
It was.
This is a two-year contract.
Yes, they are asking for a 2-year contract, and the dates, if you look at them, the dates, this one starts in March. The reason why that is, because if you're wondering what's the big rush, why don't we just wait? Here's why. The political session starts in January and it goes till May. And so if you're a consultant working for a district like us, talking behind the scenes, we have millions at stake here in this spring session coming up. We literally have millions at stake. And so from their point of view, and probably from ours, we want them working, if you say yes, the entire political session. We don't want them to suddenly stop because the contract is over. So that's why it's coming up to you now.
Okay, I'll move to support that.
Oh, it's already been.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Stacy and you supported it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a long
Okay.
day, sorry.
Yeah, long day for you, and I have a thick tongue, so.
More discussion. So does that take us through one legislative session or two?
1.5. It'll get you through this one and then part of the next one.
Because sessions-
It'll get you through 2 of them.
Right, sessions are usually over in May. So they would start for us in March, and session starts in what, February or something? And then it'll go through one full session and half of another. So what if they happen to get us the things that we want legislatively in the first session, guaranteeing them 2 years of services for $84,000?
Here's what I would say to that. Would you pay someone $84,000 to get several millions?
Well, we don't know. We just don't know. And we don't know if they're going to get it. We don't know if, we don't know if they'll get it the first session and we still have a contract with them for another half of a session.
Well, and I think right now we're still,
a session year like last year.
well, we're still waiting about a possibility of a special legislative session that likely will not happen, but it's possible.
It's possible because it's not unusual in Minnesota that there is a special session. We don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. All I can say based upon what I know, you have millions of dollars on the table. They are working on your behalf. Of course, there's a bunch of other individuals involved, but they're working for you. They're this is the right group. to be working for you right now.
And I believe they're also working for the Ely School District. They represent the RAMS
They are.
board, the RAMS organization, which is the Range Association of Municipalities and Schools, which we're a part of. Very committed to issues on the Iron Range.
And I've seen them down there, because I've been down there for Lake events. These two are really good. They will talk to Republicans and Democrats and independents, it doesn't matter, because you have to. Because you have to work towards some kind of compromise. It doesn't work to just say, this is how I want it to be. They're very good at doing that.
This come out of the general fund, I assume?
Yep.
And whether they get us help or not, couldn't be on a contingency basis or like a grant writing basis, like a percentage of what they might get us?
You could tell me you want to ask them to do that. That's not how most of these contracts work.
No. Whatever.
Is there any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
7-1 with Director Sorkin voting no. Consider approval of resolution establishing combined polling places for school districts elections not held on the day of a statewide election.
I will make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Brandy, second by Nicole. Yeah. Is there any discussion?
So why do we need combined? I know you have to do it by December if you're going to do it, but why are we doing this when we don't know if we'll have any? And I know what you're going to say, that we might, but it's a big, yeah, right, laugh. But it's caused a big problem in the Evelyn district, or not the district, but the city of Evelyn. You have one polling place at Fail Town Hall and then one at the city auditorium. And I think Virginia is pretty much having their polling places like they always have. It's just a new building now. And people are used to that, going to that one location. But it's caused problems in Evelyn by paring down like that.
This is your decision to make as a board, but you have to make it now, this time. This is the way the state law works. If you have to have an election, right now we don't have one on the horizon. If you did, school board member leaves, you have to replace them. Do you want to combine any of the polling places? It's not unusual for school boards to combine them because you're paying for everything. Everything. And I understand there was a little bit of, that was for a major election. If we have one, it's probably not going to be for a major election. It's your call. It's just gonna, if you keep them the same, it'll just cost you a little bit more. It's more work for us, it just costs us more.
I'm just looking out for the best interests of our communities and my taxpayers and my voters.
My voters?
There.
Voters. Because I'm trying to represent the city of Evelyn and those voters. The city of Gilbert.
You're representing
Everybody, the school district.
I'm putting a plug in for the Evelyn people.
Okay.
Really.
Still
Is there any
divided,
other
Polly.
discussion? Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-1. With Director Sorkin voting no. Consider approval of the strategic plan. You're up there already.
I'm staying right here. What you have in front of you, there's nothing new. We went through the strategic plan. You heard it from a variety of presenters. So we are asking now for discussion amongst yourself. Oh,
Time out. Time out.
8.9 should have been a roll call vote.
8.9 should have been a roll call, so, thank you. Oh, should have stayed on vacation.
Yeah. I should have called them.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Brandy?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Polly? Tim, the chair votes aye, yes, 7-1. Thank you very much. Okay, Noel.
So what you have before you is, do you like the strategic plan? Do you want us to go forward with it? There's one additional part of it coming, and this is because we're not done with the Indigenous Boys Fort. With that part of it, we're also not done with the equity part of it, because that's tied in and related. So that one will be coming in January. And I just have to say this. Board members, if you hear the word equity, it does not mean CRT. The word equity does not mean CRT. That said, you will get something in January about that. But for now, I guess this is for your discussion. If you want us to move forward with this, questions, changes?
What does equity mean if it does not mean CRT?
Are you serious?
You know,
I can tell you,
I know.
I'm going to give you an example. My idea of poverty might be different than your idea of poverty, and poverty might be different in the eyes of the people who are in poverty. So that is one of the examples of a difference in equality.
And so
So your experience and my experience are different than other people's.
whose thing of poverty is the right one?
It's not a debate on whose is right and whose is wrong. It's acknowledging the fact that we have different experiences.
And I think we all know that because we all have difference of opinions.
So that's what I'm telling you is an example of equality. It's not necessarily CRT. It's not race.
But it can be. Yes.
It can be a variety of things, but as he stated, this is not what it's about.
Well, we'll see.
And I think planting that idea is just.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
So
I know there's equality in disabilities, and that's all real, and that too.
But you're looking at it in just one little sliver of the pie.
I'm not.
I feel like you are, and it's my opinion, but you asked what equality is, and I'm giving you an example of one example of equality.
So
Our experiences are different.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that's just a given, Brandy. That's just a given. There's no question about that.
So we're looking here.
I'll make a motion for the strategic plan.
Okay,
I'll support.
thank you. Motion by Stacy, support by Bill. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? With no other discussion, approval of the strategic plan, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
7-1. With Director Sorkin voting no. Consider casting a vote for superintendent member and finance accounting member on the December 22 ARC ballot. And you all have a copy of the ARC ballot? Yeah.
Well, I've always had a deep interest in the financial matters. I would like to be on the ARC board. As I understand it, Tim, don't they, the whole region will have to vote on these nominees? It's
Yeah,
not just
but
our people.
I'm already on the board.
Oh, you're on everything. Pretty much. Okay, so this is just for superintendent, huh?
This is a superintendent and the financial, a business manager on the ARC board. And I believe it's Mr. Anderson from Proctor is the business manager, and I believe John Clarich, I don't have that in front of me, but I believe it's John Clarich from the Ely District is the other person.
Okay, category one says superintendent and school board member from one of these districts.
And we can't because I'm on the board.
Okay,
I have 2 more years left.
all right. I stand corrected there. So all of these districts are eligible to nominate a superintendent, and we are one, right?
Correct.
All right. for a 4-year term.
Do we want to vote for the incumbents? I would need a motion for that.
I would make a motion to vote for the incumbents.
Support.
Thank you. Brandy and Stacy. Is there any other discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Consider approval of student teaching agreement from Western Governors University.
I will make the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Brandy,
Support.
support by Stacy. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Unanimously. Meeting now, next regular meeting will be held Monday, January 9th at Rock Ridge Administration Building. I'm looking for an adjournment.
Just a second, at the workshop, we just talked about having another workshop. Attendance contract.
Agreed. It was discussed about having a working session
Okay,
sooner than later.
okay. Very good. Looking for adjournment.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Brandy, second by Bill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, 8-0. Thanks.